Hey, this is Nolan North, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, and you're listening to Raw Dogs. And why wouldn't you be? It's the best. Sic Parvis Magna.
Hey everyone, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Do you hear that?
Oh my God.
It's Santa. He's here.
It's Kazama-san.
Oh, in a Santa suit.
Of course.
That's kind of hot, actually. That works.
Santa, did you bring us anything?
He brings KFC, just like all the Japanese people love during Christmas.
They-
I'm not even kidding.
No,
They really
yeah,
do like
no.
Japanese.
One of my favorite restaurants in Yakuza is New York Hot Dog.
Yeah.
They have good burgers if you look at the menu.
Boy, have I.
Everyone, this is a very special episode of Raw Dogs. This is a very Yakuza Christmas. We are gathered here in Kamurocho.
Today.
Yep, we are at the Millennium Tower on the top floor where nothing bad could ever happen.
Fucking millennials.
We are drinking Sotenbori whiskey and doing karaoke all night, waiting for Taiga Saejima-san to come down the chimney in his Santa outfit.
Sure.
And there will be a lot of references to a lot of things that I'm not sure everyone will pick up on.
I don't think so.
But we're here to talk about the Yakuza series today.
That's perfect.
I am one of your hosts. My name is Brad. Brad-san, I am a member of the Raw Dogs clan, a subsidiary of the Hair the Dog cast.
I'm Dylan. Demon of the Dylan clan.
The Demon of Dojima.
The Demon of Dojima.
Dima
Sure.
of the Diddler clan.
You're you are a carp as well.
Well, I am a carp. I have a jacket I found on the side of the road, and it's got a nice carp on it.
I guess we should say what our Yakuza tattoos would be.
Mine would probably be a spooky black cat.
Dang it, I was going to take cat. Mine's going to be a happy brown cat.
Okay.
This is
No dogs, surprisingly, for the
No.
Raw Dogs.
This is Jamie Kamatsa-Bone of the Hair of the Raw Dog clan, subsidiary
Oh,
of
perfect.
Hair of the Dog.
You-
My tattoo would be probably a smiley face.
Just a big smiley face
Big
done with
smiley
like
face.
crazy style on the back.
No, just a plain old ordinary smiley face. Maybe eating some
From Forrest
sushi.
Gump.
So you are there at the final battle. You dramatically rip off your shirt, and it's just a smiley face on the back.
Totally.
Mine might.
Jimmy
might-
Bonsai.
Mine might actually be like a boar. Like I think like a boar is a very powerful, cool animal.
It's also a delicious
I would have
very
I'd have a gorilla.
Really?
I think a gorilla maybe. That'd be cool.
It's just Donkey Kong.
It's just Donkey Kong.
I'm going to change
No,
mine.
it's Kitty Kong. But today we are discussing the Yakuza. We are the Raw Dogs. We are part of Hair the Dog cast. We discuss video games in excruciating detail sometimes. We're
Sometimes.
irreverent, always fun, and a little drunk.
A lot of dick jokes too.
And a lot of those get edited out, but you guys don't know because you don't listen to the show.
Well, some of them have to make it.
Otherwise,
real
there'd be no show.
I think people like it.
And we are a podcast that we like to drink on the
What is
air.
this?
This is a brand new offering from Eagle Park Brewing. This is the Holiday Punch Hard Smoothie.
Oh, wonderful.
Pineapple, cranberry, pomegranate, and lime. And this is a very rare drink. If I made a Venn diagram of drinks my family would all agree upon, this is one of the only
Really?
things I've ever found.
I really like the illustration on this. There's like a Slugulon who lives in a bubble.
I changed my mind. This is my Yakuza tattoo.
Ooh.
The eagle from Eagle
A
Park.
drunk eagle.
With a big green
That
tongue.
describes kind of you as an American. Since now you're so American from moving here, you're the drunk eagle.
Nice. Caca, motherfuckers.
Dogs.
And we wanted to have
Okay,
the
I'm
patriarch of our family here, but he has been locked up in jail for 18 years. He took a hit for me. I was caught stealing candy, and Tom said he's with me. I'll take it.
But Thomas, I wanted the Snickers real bad.
I said, those Pokemon cards are free if you just take them. And
Tom's like, that's not how money works.
and Tom got caught with the cards in his hand by the security guard. So Tom has been in jail for 18 years for me. He should be out when we talk about Like a Dragon, hopefully.
Oh, perfect.
But we're here to talk today about the Yakuza series, which before we started just like planning this episode, I knew nothing about. Absolutely nothing about him. I knew Kazama Kiryu, I knew his image, and I knew the name Yakuza. And that's essentially it. I had no experience before starting to research for this. And I'm guessing, Dylan, you were probably fairly aware of this series.
I knew it tangentially, and then I decided to pick up. I think I played 5 for the PS3 at one point, and I was kind of bored by it. Then someone told me that 0 was really good, and it was $20. There was a price drop, and I said, I'll play it. I was enamored by it, but I think I was more enamored by it being like a period piece. I thought that was more interesting than anything else going on in the game. Though the beat 'em up, still pretty fun.
It gets a little bit old after
does.
how many games are we talking about?
Well, sometimes it's like random battles. You just run into people and you're like, I have to kick more ass. Please.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I recently played Like a Dragon all the way through.
You did beat it all the way through.
I did.
Okay. I thought you had stopped, so you picked it up again.
I finished it about 2 weeks back. I was at the end of the game, and I found myself just kind of going, we'll talk about that in Like a Dragon, that episode.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think the series is like pretty charming. I just have a lot of problems with, and this is the funniest part about it, is I will go through hoops and make up excuses for any JRPG that I find like relatively charming, but I can't do it for this for some reason. There are some things in this where I'm like, they couldn't have streamlined it, they couldn't have done something else with it, blah, blah, blah. But I keep coming back to this series, finding myself interested for maybe 10 hours, and then I say, well, I'm kind of done. And then I disappear, I fuck off, you know?
JB, what's your experience with the Yakuza series?
Really just coming down to I knew of it, never played one before until, 2 weeks ago when I picked up Kiwami. And I think you and I, Dylan, share the same sentiment. I think there's intrigue in the story, even though most of the stories, it's exactly the same story on repeat-ish.
Kind of.
Yeah. The beat 'em up is fun. Playing the multiple games, you can kind of see the evolution of the fighting engine and what have you. As insignificant as that is, you can tell a big difference. But you get enamored with it, and then it just gets a little bit long in the tooth, and you kind of want to drop it after a while. But I think some of the offshoots actually interest me more than the main game.
Yeah.
So like Judgment and Like a Dragon.
Oh, that's interesting. I have yet to play Judgment. Have you touched it yet?
No, but from my understanding of it, it's more Yakuza, it's more Kamurocho and Ijinko, and is Ijinko? I forget. Where Like a Dragon takes place.
Ijincho.
Ijincho, but it's
Ujincho? Ijincho. We could probably look it up, but
disclaimer. Forgive us if we mispronounce a few things or get every name wrong.
Probably.
But my understanding of Judgment is that it's kind of just more of the regular series. It seems more of a Yakuza 7 than Like a Dragon does. To me, Like a Dragon should have been the offshoot.
See, Judgment is more of the other side of the coin, right? You're a private investigator, ex-hotshot young lawyer. Pretty much what it is Phoenix Wright, but with karate fighting.
Yes.
But,
a Phoenix Wright game.
Yeah. Phoenix Writing and kick-ass karate fighting.
I don't know. I keep falling asleep during the game. I might be dreaming half of it.
But we're probably jumping the gun with Judgment. We can come back to it, but it's kind of the other side of the story to a point. And
my cat just fell off the table trying to be cute. Good job, Marty.
I don't think he was trying to be cute. I don't think Marty has it in him, but
he was being very cute before he attacked you.
Is he drunk?
Yes. So like I was saying, I didn't know much about it, but in getting ready for this series, I said, I'll try and play through a bunch of them, maybe most of them before we talk about it. This is maybe like 4 months ago.
You also got COVID, luckily.
Well, when Tom told me, I think it was Tom and maybe you at the time that you said, those games are about 100 hours each.
They are.
You won't get through all of them. And I said, I'll do it. Don't tell me I don't know how to play video games long time.
I got through Metroid Dread in 7 hours.
Is that long or short?
That's extremely short.
Okay.
That's extremely short. Mine was like 14, I think. But I'm kind of a person who
I didn't go out of
scratch.
I didn't go back and look for shit. Like as soon as I could go to the next thing, I was kind of ready to do it.
I'm all about exploration in that game.
I did go to howlongtobeat.com, which is not always accurate. I added up all of the main series, Yakuza 0 through 6, Like a Dragon, and the 2 Judgment games. If you want to do the main quest and some side content, which is kind of how I play these games, I'm not going to 100% them, but I will try and get a good feel for everything.
Some fun items.
It would be about 418 hours to get through the series. If you wanted to 100% platinum trophy these games, 971 hours is the average time on that.
You'd be sick of video games after that.
Oh, God. And
there's someone doing this right now, by the way.
I think a lot of this series, like you guys said, has an immense amount of charm and character, and there's so much to do. There's so much going on, but I think it kind of has an Assassin's Creed type problem, or at least it used to, where they released a game like every year for a while,
right?
And
that's what they wanted it to be, though. That was the idea. That was like the thesis. These are technically like River City Ransom style, like soap operas.
It's the serialization of a video game. Just extend the story.
But here it makes more sense because you're getting these snapshots. Each game is its own like story within the saga of like Kazama, and so it's like, okay, you're getting a story that might mean something to some people and might not to others, and it advances him in his life. That's maybe what I find most fascinating about it, because games don't do that. They like strong narrative opening, strong narrative ending, and concluding for the most part, unless the sequel rolls around and they completely flip the script. But yeah.
Major thanks to Yakuza Fan on YouTube and the Patrick and Sirik Z on GameFAQs, because when I was doing my research for some of these older games, most of the sites I usually go to weren't useful.
Yeah.
To find a list of mini games for Yakuza 2, or like the original Yakuza on PS2,
really,
I had to go to GameFAQs, which I hadn't done in a while, and they had some fantastic facts on their FAQs. So just thank you for people that are still making GameFAQs, because that site used to be a very big deal to me, and it's still there.
Doing 100%ed Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is an unique charm about someone's handwritten guide from somebody who just passion project. They're not getting paid to like slug along and just do it.
So the best thing about GameFAQs back in the day is using characters and icons to create the logo.
Yeah.
That was always the coolest to me. I'm like, how did you fucking... It truly is.
But before we get too much into Yakuza, let's talk a little bit about Toshihiro Nagoshi. We talked about him a little bit on the Monkey Ball episode. His personal life, he went to film school, so that's clearly shows in a lot of his work.
It explains a lot of these games, by the way.
It explains why it's all story and a little bit of beat 'em up and some side quests and then more story.
Extremely cinematic. Yeah.
Well, even the fights, especially when it hits like Yakuza 0, I feel like he finally hits his thesis on...
Heat Action is just a Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Extreme close-up curb stomping, stuff like that. His closest relationship was with his grandma. His father was in perpetual debt. So you can see some parallels with some of the characters that he has to work his way up. Father issues, fatherhood.
Me too.
All of us. But once he worked his way up to Sega, he returned to his hometown to repay all of his father's debt, only to find out his childhood home had been burned down. His grandma died in the fire. His mom went crazy, like kind of her brain turned off from the horror of losing her mom. And the dad was kind of maturing up a little bit himself after dealing with the trauma. So that's when he actually started having a relationship with his father and was talking about caring for his mom at the time. And he paid off his father's debts, which honor and debt is definitely a part of Yakuza.
Almost to an insane degree. Kind of like it's like Bushido style, classic Japan type shit.
It also could just go back to the great crime novels of all time too, because it's very much a crime novel, like drama style of story. Lots of twists and turns, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. After he made Super Monkey Ball, he wanted to learn how Nintendo works, so then he made F-Zero GX with them.
F-Zero GX is one of the best racing games that's ever existed.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing Nagoshi totally gets, it's arcade gameplay. Yep. Instantly engaging. Have you played it, Jamie?
No.
Oh my God. I wish I hadn't sold it ever because now it's hard to find. Dude, that story mode, it's going to murder you.
Nice. I haven't played it either.
It's really hard.
He would sum up the difference of Nintendo and Sega as Sega is more flashy and has a more lighthearted attitude when it comes to new ideas. He says if he had started working with Nintendo, he would have quit the video game industry a long time ago.
Can you imagine Mario edition of Yakuza? That's what it would turn into.
Luigi-chan.
Mario-san, come over here. It's a me.
It's a me, your future death.
Actually, Kiwami 1 and 2, that'd be a perfect transfer to a Switch port. I don't know why they haven't worked on
Yakuza is on Wii U.
Which one?
Oh, fuck, I forget. Let me look this up real quick.
And I thought there was already a Switch port. Or am I
No,
thinking-
there are no Switch Yakuzas.
Yakuza Wii U. All right. You can get Yakuza 1 and 2 HD for the Wii U.
Huh. Okay.
And I did see there...
Was that ever released
it says
in America?
what it says. It said real Yakuza use wrist straps. I did see that screenshot.
A lot of those Wii U ports are garbage, though. I remember I got...
son, I'm afraid I'm going to drop my knife.
use the Wii U remote to stab your friends.
I remember I got Tekken for the Wii U, and it was garbage.
Of course.
Yeah. And actually, I see a lot of similarities between the Tekken series and the Yakuza series.
Well, even
Like,
in terms
a
of
lot.
like visual fidelity.
Visual.
I used to confuse
storytelling.
Jin and Kiryu.
Oh, yeah.
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 That was definitely like, I don't know who I'm looking at.
And a lot of these, what's really interesting when we get into like the storylines of these is that Kiryu is such a classic, like Japanese cinema character, where they praise like the calm-headed, straightforward person. It's there's a series that this guy's clearly a fan of. It's like Zenjiro, the Blind Swordsman. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But this is clearly modeled off of stuff like that. It seemed like, especially like having the child along with you, or like just being like this calm badass who enters any like the world happens around these characters, him, rather than him interacting with the world, because it's really not about Kiryu.
Kiryu has pretend character arcs every story,
yeah.
when really it's Goku. To compare to someone else, the flat character never changes. It's old reliable Kiryu, and he's going to do what Kiryu does, and that's
standard
why he's
shonen.
cool.
He's a shonen character, yeah.
Nagoshi had a pretty drastic physical appearance change, moving from Monkey Ball into Yakuza. I'm sure have you seen the pictures, Jamie?
I have not seen the pictures.
Okay,
Brian.
we
are going to get a live reaction.
Oh yeah.
He really got into the Yakuza lifestyle.
Well,
Tracksuits.
He's a little baller. He's got a lot of confidence, and he pulls it off. But I also miss innocent little Monkey Ball Nagoshi as well. He says he adapted his appearance to change what his current girlfriend was into. So if change your appearance to please whoever you're with.
Yeah, that's why I look so crazy right now.
You look cool, dude. Project J was the code name for Ryoga Gotoku, which is Like a Dragon, which is the name of the series in Japan. Mm-hmm. But Japan was, at the time, losing its relevance on a worldwide basis. They were having issues competing with the big budgets of Rockstar Games, EA, and Activision. So Nagoshi was in a strange situation. He had a team that was made up of game devs from all different genres because Sega was trying to like unify into a few different teams to just focus on a few projects. In order to get them to form bonds and learn how to work together, he had a pretty serious policy of everyone had to go drinking together every single night.
Wow.
It's not a bad rule.
And that's kind of the way, from my understanding of Japanese culture, that's
the salary, man.
It's a very good way to like. That's bonding. That's a lot of. I've heard a lot of Japanese people would pick up smoking because it's the only way that they'd have a chance to go talk with some of their coworkers and make deals happen.
It's also the cult-like mentality of their workforce.
And then you can go to a soap land afterwards and get some gray
I love
area
Bath and Body
prostitution.
Works. They should rename it to Soapland.
Soapland, yes. Have you guys read about Soapland? Like real Soaplands?
I've seen a few videos.
Ooh, this is Sweaty Omi Alliance scented.
I've seen a few documentaries.
These documentaries you speak of, do they begin with XXX?
No.
Because that's not a documentary, Dylan.
I mean, the website was X videos.
No, that's a reputable site. I have no issue with that.
Project J decided to have a heavy focus on the Japanese market. And then they also decided we're going to have a focus on the adult male side of that specific market, which seems counterintuitive. They said, we don't give a fuck about what the Americans want over there, and that we're not making a game for kids. We want to focus on something adult male oriented, because a lot of the people that grew up playing games are now adults and they're ready to have a more mature experience. And that's reflective of a lot of what was going on in the time. Like Grand Theft Auto 3 was taking over everything, and people were ready for more mature stories at the time. So he pitched an adult-oriented action brawler RPG where you play as a criminal, and rejected very quickly. They said, games are for kids. This would not work. So at that point, Masayoshi Kikuchi came on board to help him, who worked on Panzer Dragoon and Jet Set Radio. And he knew that the game needed more of a human drama rather than just focus on all criminals. So it was his idea. He said, put a little girl in there. And that was very quickly became a lot of the mantra for the storytelling. From then on, it was the image of the Yakuza, like the ex-Yakuza and the child, and the relationship between them, which is a much easier sell than this guy was in jail for 18 years for murder. He'll be our hero. And everyone is worse than him that he runs into almost.
Yeah.
More scummy than him. So they would require about $9 million for the whole package, and it did need to be sold to the global market in order to be profitable. Once they were getting it going, Nagoshi was told to remove everything Japanese and make a generic city that works for everyone. We don't want any specific Japanese culture. This needs to be a city that could be anywhere, which it's fun to imagine how bad that would be. It sounds like a city from Spider-Man 2 or something, where it's like just plain city, like nothing too distinct about it.
Plain City, USA.
Well, I mean, that was New York, though.
But it just looked extremely like buildings, you know?
Sure, I'm thinking more or less like a fictional universe. Like it's gonna be Hardyville, USA, like where they do like with Destroy All Humans. You ever play that one? Yeah, that kind of shit.
Nagoshi came back and insisted, I'm going to make it more Japanese. I'm going to put even more Soaplans in there. And he insisted, we're going to have real world locations and advertisements. We're going to have real products in there. And he put himself on the line and he said, if this game doesn't become a hit, I will take responsibility and resign immediately.
So he's Kojima. Product placement, doesn't give a fuck, makes what he wants.
He's the swinging the big dick. He knows he has something that he believes in. Nagoshi worked for a long time under Yu. Was Yu Suzuki the Shenmue guy? Yeah, he worked under Yu Suzuki for a long time, and Suzuki had told him, he said, no one's going to get it. Like, it's up to you to make it happen, because no one else is going to back up a crazy idea. So if you believe in something, you got to do it.
Which Yu Suzuki, he got lucky with Shenmue. That game sucks.
And that game didn't even make money, right?
That game made decent money.
Okay.
from what I understand. He was able to make his sequel, and then he got to make a third one 20 years later. I don't know how you want to measure success in terms of these
Dick
people,
size.
but yeah.
Cult classics. At least there is a fan base for it, even if it's not for most people.
It's like 7 people.
It's
Yeah.
It's
but those 7 people will talk to you for a long
Man,
time.
They love it.
Around this time, Sega and Sammy merged to become Sega Sammy Holdings. Do you know anything about this? I wasn't familiar with Sammy.
No, I don't know this.
Sega Sammy Holdings.
Yeah. So at this point, they had to answer to Sam. Okay, let's do a little quick Google search on this right now because I am curious. Okay, Sega Sammy Holdings is a Japanese holding company merged from Sega and Sammy Corporation in 2004. Both companies are in the amusement industry. Sammy with pachinko machines. Okay, but when they merged, they had to kind of show a concept reel, a sizzle reel to the people from Sammy to show what our company's up to, what we've been working on. And Nagoshi snuck in a pre-production concept footage that he was not allowed, not given permission to. He put it in there, and the people from Sammy were like, what the fuck is this? This looks pretty good. And a lot of the other people in Sega's like, you're fucking putting us on the line. You're a bad egg, except they probably said something different than bad egg.
Like, what a jerk.
Yeah, what a bad friend you are. Nagoshi-san.
You're a bad egg roll.
That's wrong on so many levels.
Oh my God, we did it.
I did a Brad joke. I finally did.
That is the joke of the episode, everyone.
Dylan's done a Brad joke. Do.
And so,
man.
Yeah, the new owner and CEO, Hajime Satomi, saw this footage, and he was
not even Japanese.
No, that's my point, bro.
I know. Oh, casual racism. I love it.
It's like that's a spicy meatball into the Yakuza series.
They were joined by another creator at this point in Sega, Masayoshi Yokoyama, who is the planner for Jet Set Radio. He tried to transfer out of Amusement Vision and get into Sega Sports R&D because he thought Project J looked like shit. Kikuchi heard this and immediately canceled all of his meetings, confronted him, and said, why are you leaving? Because they had worked together, and he's like super pissed that his buddy was trying to get into sports games. And it was Yokoyama that pitched the character drama rather than the focus on the crime. So they had a pitching session where they had a lot of different creators in there, and he was the only one that came in. He said, this character, young girl, and he did like a character board where he said, this is how they're related. And he was the only one that didn't have any reasoning for the 1 billion yen that went missing. Was it 1 billion? 10 billion?
10 billion yen.
10 billion yen.
He was the only one that didn't
It's about
focus.
10 million dollars.
Yeah, he
No,
didn't
it's like-
say anything about the missing money.
It'd be 100 million.
88 million.
He pitched a love triangle and said, I'll figure out the money later. And Nagoshi thought that was way more interesting, focus on the characters rather than the plot. Get interesting people and then figure out the rest later. So he was given the scenario for the game, despite never having written one, and reading less than 5 novels in his life, which is a fun fact. That
Sounds like my life right there.
yeah.
That's most people, though. Like, think how many books that they told you to read in high school did you actually read? I read a ton of them.
If
for
there
some
was a
reason,
movie
but-
version, I would just get the movie. I wouldn't be a sucker and read
Spark
it.
Notes.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't read The Grapes of Wrath, but I got the highest score in the class, which is something I'm very proud of.
Did you copy off the class nerd?
No, I got Spark Notes, and it said here's like everything: the theme, the plot, the main characters,
Yeah.
inciting incidents, and those are all those
My part's true.
those flavor questions they ask on tests. Like, what was the inciting incident to get this character out of there? Burger King, foot lettuce. And
I flunked my test on Grapes of Wrath. I thought it was about winemaking.
Yeah,
There
angry
was
wine.
that one I Love Lucy episode. So you've watched that.
That was my research.
The ending,
I watch-
And
the
then
ending-
Ethel and Lucy stomped the grapes.
needless to say, Ricky wasn't pleased.
Then Lucy stomped the grapes.
And one of the problems that Yokoyama said,
Grapes of Wrath, grape feet.
as as they were writing the game, as he was working on the scenario, it was becoming chapter based. He said the problem with that is every chapter needs a villain, a boss.
Sure.
And you feel the need. Well, if you fought this guy here, you can't have a lesser villain.
No.
You got to keep going bigger the whole way up. Once the story was finished for the first game, it was submitted to Hasei Saishu, who is a very well-known crime novelist in Japan. He responded with, "What the hell is this? It's so stupid."
Nice. That makes my day right there.
That's seriously just the 2 notes he had, and he sent it back.
I love that.
Yeah. He said the game lacked any sense of realism. He insisted on a hierarchy and research. The character of Date, who is the detective, he originally wasn't given that certain rank. He said if this character was in this job class for so long, he would at least be up there. You're not focusing on how the hierarchy of the Yakuza work. You need to do your research. If you're going to have things set in a certain location with certain character types,
Especially contemporary.
especially
existing things.
you're trying to give a flavor of the culture in a location, and if you haven't done your research, it's going to show so hard.
Yeah.
And so he insisted, he's like, go out there and do your research, which Nagoshi took very seriously.
And then he became a baller.
The 3 went out to a very expensive bar, and they were we're out here. We're just going to see what these bars look like here. It's Kamurocho in the game, but it's based on Kabuchinko, which is the red light district of Tokyo. These are based on real locations, but not, one-to-one. But they went out to a very expensive bar, and they were blown away that it was 300,000 yen for a drink. And their next thought was, we better try it because we're researching. And then
That's like, what, $300?
Something like that. And it turns out it was like a Miller High Life or something, right?
yeah,
Champagne of beers.
champagne.
Champagne.
They sent.
PBR.
They had the balls to send the research bill to Sega.
I like that.
All they wanted to do was drink for free.
It's research. Nagoshi underestimated how much money everything was going to cost. It almost got canceled a 3rd time around this point, but
Wow.
it did make it. They did make a video game.
They did.
They truly did. I saw
they?
it.
Yeah.
Tell us how.
Yakuza arrived on the PS2 in Japan December 8th, 2005. Landed in North America September 5th, 2006. Gameplay is a beat-em-up, action-adventure, open-world, crime drama with mini-games. It's a really kind of a hodgepodge of many things, but what it boils down to, a lot of the gameplay is going to be a brawler-style thing. You level up in an RPG sense, and and
Well, you have your skill trees that you can move down, and that's actually really intriguing and works really well.
The one thing I found really interesting is the whole concept of he's been in jail for 10 years. He's lost his toughness, his fighting style. So the dragon art, you can't use points to buy into that to increase. It's more about fighting Goro, right? I thought that was an interesting
Majima is
take.
important to it, yeah.
And that is an introduction specifically to Kiwami that wasn't in the original.
Really?
That's one of those things where later on they realized people loved Majima. People like R2. Have him all over the prequels.
Give him our jetpack.
He can have Majima has a jetpack in Zero. We never said he couldn't.
Give him buzzsaws.
And this is Goro, right?
Majima has a lot going on with his character, and this is one of the reasons why I would say if you are, we're going to spoil, heads up, we will spoil a couple things about the story, but generally don't feel like you shouldn't listen to this because there won't be.
Also,
the story isn't
long term doesn't really make a difference to spoil some of these things. You're either going to be captured by the storytelling itself.
Yeah.
The details are incredibly superfluous. Like
It's a soap opera.
It's
It
not
doesn't matter.
It's not about where you're going, it's how they get there.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Majima, he is the crazy dog of Dojima. And the Mad Dog. They call him the Mad Dog. And he is the Goja, the Majima Everywhere system in this. everywhere you go around town, he'll pop out of garbages. He'll be the cab driver, and his job is kind of his goal is to mess with Kazuma and get him back up to fighting because he wants to fight him and have a fair match.
He's the Joker to the Batman.
He's a Joker for a good reason. Yeah. And Yakuza 0, he is like a level-headed character, and you see what happens to him and how he gets there, and he decides he needs to live his life a certain way. And people that have only played 0 are very shocked when they come into Kiwami because they said that is not the character that we just saw.
Yeah.
And you see, I think, a lot more character growth.
You see it by the end of 0, though.
And you see it, his character continuing to develop throughout the series. I've spent a lot of time with this, but by the end, when you even see him later on, we won't spoil anything about Like a Dragon, but there is a lot of character arc for Majima. But yes, in this one, he is the silly man who lives in garbages, and he just wants to say, Kazuma-chan, let's have a fight. But in the original game, the PS2 one, he's kind of just a serious bad guy and just fucks with you a few times.
Yeah.
But I think his design was so stylized and like...
Yeah.
One of the aspects of this game is the tattoos, which the tattoo culture is major stigma. Back then more so than now, but...
They're kind of getting over it. But let's say, Brad, that we wanted to go to Japan. We wouldn't be allowed in hot springs.
No, I would not be allowed there.
I would have to. I have one tattoo. I'd have to cover it up. But you absolutely could not get away.
Well, you're more tattoo than man now.
Yeah, and there's a major stigma to it. And they were worried about having tattoos in the game, even.
But tattoos are so integral to Yakuza culture, like real Yakuza culture, right?
And they made a major point with this. They even have it in the game where they show Kazuma getting his tattoo, and it's not just a fluffy piece of art to him. It defines him. It defines what he's about and what he strives to be. And that's something they do with all the characters. And you know what's really cool is they hired a real tattoo artist. His name is Horitomo.
The designs are fabulous.
He is a real tattoo artist, and he works in California now at the State of Grace Tattoo. You can go get a tattoo from the guy who did the designs for, Majima and Kiryu and all of the series. The designs are done by him, which is a nice thing that they do. So a rough plot summary for the first game. Kazama Kiryu, a formerly promising Yakuza, is released from a 10-year prison sentence in 2005 after having taken the fall for a murder of his family's patriarch to protect his sworn brother, Akira Nishikiyama. He discovers the Tojo clan, whom he was once sworn to, has lost 10 billion yen, and the clan's third chairman has been murdered. He meets a mysterious girl, and a lot of shit happens. And like you were saying,
all of it's quite obvious.
A fair amount of it is obvious, yes.
Well, even when we get to Like a Dragon, everything that I've heard people are surprised by, I was like, I guessed it like the moment everyone showed up. There are only so many characters, and you have to understand how they each connect to each other. The little girl is important in the first Yakuza because obvious. It's you're like you said, it is definitely more about the journey and less about the destination.
It's extremely pulpy.
Hugely pulpy.
It's very much got a flair of it's Chinatown. It's there's a lot of twists that seem over the top. And you can get away with maybe one in a film. All right, Luke and Leia were twins. They do that constantly. And eventually you become numb to it because the first one, all right, Yumi and there might be another woman is Haruka's mother. Are they aunts? I was like, one of them's missing. They're the same person. Yeah. And I said, take that, Dashiell Hammett. I just wrote a crime novel. And eventually you become numb to it because by the time I'm playing Yakuza 5, I said, all right, this unassuming, innocent character, this is someone with the Yakuza. That's their brother. This little guy is the kingpin, and you're not surprised by anything by the end of it.
No, it follows the same formula for the story. You have the three main bad guys that you always have to fight. You have the kind of the hidden guy that kind of comes up. Oh shit, I got you, man! But,
Surprise end boss who wasn't there the whole game, which
that's right.
is a trope I'm not in love with. But.
So another thing that this series is kind of toes a line when you talk about the morality of the criminality of these people. When you really think the Yakuza are not good people, like period,
Bad people.
And that's not a hard stance to take, but the way that the game has to portray the main character, they don't even try to make him an anti-hero. They just make him a straight up hero because they keep saying that he has his own personal code. But then it's just being like, well, yeah, like I'm sure there were some Nazis that weren't as bad as others. It seems to me like they had to do it. They had to make him sympathetic. It wouldn't have worked any other way. But I don't think they towed that line very well.
But that's the thing with knowing that this guy, like the creator, got his work shot down by the famous crime novelist and what have you. It just kind of shows. I don't want to say amateur, but he was exploring a territory he didn't really understand. So to the point of, here's the template for the story.
But you understand what the Yakuza does.
That's right. I'm gonna make as many story arcs as I can using the same template. Even looking at the offshoots of the main Yakuza games, all of the protagonists share that same characteristic. They've taken a hit for a friend.
Noble idiots.
But I would also argue Ichiban and Kiryu couldn't be more different.
They're different, but they're both noble
I would
idiots.
disagree. Yes, they're noble idiots. Ichiban is I want to be the tough Yakuza guy, but you know what? I grew up on these streets, and I want to make sure that these kids are protected and this woman is protected.
Right.
I'm not going to collect from you. He has the heart of gold.
I could concede that Ichiban's a bit of an idiot, but I won't say Kiryu's an idiot. He is one of the aspects.
He's a meathead Chad.
One of the aspects of this.
I love him, but he's not.
Well, no, he's a man out of time. He was locked up for 10 years, and a lot of his character is people coming out to him and talking about stuff that is kind of foreign to him. And Kiryu is a charming character.
Oh, he is.
Which
I agree.
I think it's an awesome part of how these games are written is that they do make him work, because you have the video game character of the quiet guy who always catches the punch and does the right thing is not interesting. And to make his character lovable and distinct, and when you see him, you get excited. That's more difficult to do than you'd think.
No, it is, but it's also, as someone who absorbs a lot of Japanese culture in storytelling, it is a very, like I said before, he's a shonen character. And for the most part, those characters are neither, usually they're not super intelligent, but they have a special skill that they can't control. And that tends to be the main trope that goes along with this. His power and his ability is what allows him to advance what's going on in the world around him. And it's not even that he doesn't care or he has no internal motivations, but they are so straightforward that I would, in the literary sense, call it idiotic.
It's no different than American cinema. Big action movies. You have your everyday hero or some guy that is doing a job and you could tell he's conflicted with it, but he still does it because of his loyalty. Yeah.
He has no character flaws, which is kind of a problem.
Who, The Rock?
Yeah. Kiryu is steadfast, and he's never, even when he's like taken advantage of, he never feels like a fool about it. He just quietly moves on to the next thing.
It's because he doesn't understand.
He's like, I will go punch this guy. One thing that I think is really great about him is his acceptance of things that he doesn't understand. He'll meet up with a cross-dressing hitman, and he's like, okay. He doesn't judge people or like look down. He's like, you need to do what you do it well, treat others with respect. I am a criminal by like
he lives by a code, right? It's honor, it's fight for what you believe in, and whatever antiquated thing you want to put. So, to our point, is he dumb? He might be a little bit dumb, but he's not dumb because he follows his creed to the
I
T.
agree.
he's so hard-headed that I don't know. I don't want to call him dumb, but
I call him an idiot in a literary
I would say
sense,
uninformed.
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah.
uninformed.
It's a Dostoevsky sense. It is literally just someone who is willing to be that messiah no matter what the situation is and no matter how much it hurts them. It really does it I don't know, he is complex, but he's also simple.
He doesn't know any other way. That's who he is.
Right. And I do like that when he's a man out of time after he gets out of prison, how he
I'm just thinking of how much of a bonehead he is sometimes too. It's great.
in prison, he would have had to have just like it would have broken your mind no matter what. Everyone who goes to prison, it breaks you essentially. And
There are moments though where like Kiryu realizes he needs to buy a necklace for the girl he likes, and he's like, "Oh," he just doesn't know what to do, so he asks for help.
But it makes him a socially awkward ding dong, but not in the way where he doesn't have the confidence to exist within the world. He has all the confidence necessary to survive. He like that's what people should be.
maybe
Like, be yourself, but be
the
confident, but-
meathead with a heart of gold.
Yeah, but then I would also claim that noble idiot could be a synonym for that.
It's one and the same, guys. I just like that he has his own catchphrase now.
And there is another aspect of these games where the story, the main story, serious drama, characters are making decisions about life and death, and then you go play pocket circuit racing for 10 hours in the middle of the drama.
love slot cars.
It's like, I know that Haruka's missing, but can we go do karaoke for an hour? And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the mini games and other aspects after we take a quick break. Enjoy some karaoke music from Yakuza. We'll be right back. Oh.
ダメだねダメよダメなのよあんたが好きで好きすぎてどれだけ強いお酒でも歪まない思い出がバカみたい
And I had to laugh because the whole end fight was literally mash X.
That's a good excuse to talk about the combat system.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty classic beat 'em up. So I didn't play the original PS2 one or the original Yakuza 2. I did play Yakuza 3 Remastered, which is going to be essentially the same game, but dolled up a little bit. But the game's combat works sometimes.
Sometimes
It is an evolved River City Ransom.
It-
River City Ransom is the template for this because it is the earliest version of what this game could be. Have you guys ever played the River City Ransom?
Was that
It's
like
an
the first
NES game.
side-scroller beat 'em up?
It's not the first, but all of the elements that you see in Yakuza can be found within.
Pick up items.
beat
Beat
people
the
with
shit out
items.
of them.
Yeah.
Just waves of people. You can go to restaurants and they help boost your stats.
Okay.
It's an early version of this.
Yeah.
And it's very good. Honestly, go play River City Ransom. It fucking rules. And it holds up, especially for an NES game, which I don't think all of them really do. And I will say that as the series goes on, I'm probably going to say that I like Zero's combat system the best.
I think Zero has some of the most charm. I think Zero leans in to the zaniness of the series.
Right.
Which it's also, I mean, one of the aspects of this series is that they are of their time. And that one takes place in the 80s. This one takes place in 2005, which when it came out back then, it didn't seem of its time. But it's great because you play it now and you see like the cell phones. You just see how the people move around. And a main character of this series is Kamurocho, which there is a beautiful through line of Yakuza 0 through 6 and through Like a Dragon, through the Judgment series, Kamurocho is Kamurocho. It is like the city can't change. Like those are city blocks. You can have a new tower built. You can have a few businesses change, but I love, and it does become tiring at times too, but there is a beautiful familiarity with I'm back. Yeah. I know where things are.
Getting back to the combat though, kind of like the time machine aspect that you brought up, Brad, where it's a game of the time. You see flip phones and things like that. But the battle system really shows the age of the game. Yeah. So like I've only played Kiwami. I haven't played the original Yakuza, but
I wouldn't probably.
But just seeing videos of it, it's just it's brutal. But even Kiwami is like, why can't I lock on to a character? So you have a one-on-one fight and you end up kicking the air for like 5 moves. Well,
so much.
It's a lot of camera problems.
Shit kicked out of you. It's not even camera problems; it's tracking problems, right? You should be able to lock onto your character at least, or the guy you're fighting, and they do eventually do that.
It's surprising they didn't do more with Kiwami when things were better. That they could have done something more.
With so much they added to it, story or the little bit of story that they added, the improved graphics. They should have improved the fighting system.
But also, at what point do you homogenize the experience to a point where you're trying to make something you're trying to make something for new fans, but you're also trying to make something for old fans.
But as an old fan, if I read that, I'm just going to be the devil's advocate here.
Sure.
If I'm a huge fan of the original Yakuza, and I hear that remake, a remaster is coming out, we're changing the fight system, we're changing everything. If I'm really, really that diehard and so involved in the original, why would I pick up the remaster for something that I've already bought?
I think, but that's what I'm saying. I think you have to toe a fine line when it comes to that, and especially like you can't fundamentally change what the game was at the time. The whole point of remastering is about preservation, in my opinion. I don't think, because if you wanted everything to play from before like it does now, then you're not really getting the historical sense of what these video games
But that goes back to the GTA episode that we did where, the new remasters, they're not that great. So what's the sense of them other than a cash grab? So you know what I mean? Like, no, but if you're going to do it right. And
they literally could have just up-resed and thrown them out. And I don't think the hate would be nearly, because those games I still think most Rockstar games play like dog shit.
But. Oh yeah, like Yakuza. Comparing Kiwami to the original, it looks night and day, so much better.
Right.
Like yes,
beyond belief.
That's undeniable. The game is more than just a remaster; it is a remake. It is. That's right. It's absolutely gorgeous. I was surprised when I was playing this game. I'm like, this looks pretty great, pretty modern, and
then you fight.
The fighting isn't bad at first. I didn't have a lot of issues right away, but then you do realize the tracking.
Yeah.
And all right, I can see Dylan's argument. We're preserving, but the fact that you still get to that first Shimano boss fight,
the one that takes forever,
after
and the funeral,
they don't tell. I didn't know
I was doing something wrong.
Everyone does. The number of people I read online that said, I quit then. I didn't get it. What was I doing wrong? Google searches like crazy. And a lot of them said, you're not really doing anything wrong. Do better.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in a pleasing Dark Souls way where I see I'm missing like an element of his attack. I need to counter better. It's like, nope. You need to do that repetitive shit where you can just chip away at his health. If you happen to get the right upgrades earlier, you can have better attacks, but they don't tell you to do a lot of that to get ready for it. You're not going out of the way to grind before this.
You're not supposed to grind that early in a video game.
A lot of it is also knowing the right fighting style to use for what character. So that's the challenge, and that's the learning curve. But if they just added a simple, hey, right click your thumbstick, just to track, it would have been so much better.
I had a lot of trouble adjusting cameras and making sure I was facing the right direction, because once you connect, it connects well.
That's right.
But you have to be in the right position to do it, and I felt like I just wasn't doing that well the entire time. Yeah, I mean, I love that whole entire sequence, and I'm literally playing this game, and my ex was there. She's like, why is this fight having like? Why is this taking like 10 minutes plus? And I'm like, I don't know. They haven't taught me any new mechanic here.
There's nothing interesting happening in the fight.
And why are you punching
it's
behind
early
you?
game, but it's also early game, and you don't have a lot of skills. Your combo system isn't up. There are a lot of things you just cannot do. So it's not even practicing what you've learned, because the only thing you've learned is just how to press the square button.
So, like, on the other side of the coin with this, we can shit on the fighting system all we want, but realistically, I think people are playing these games for the story and the progression of the character, not so much for the fighting.
I subtly disagree.
Okay.
Because of one thing that wasn't in the PS2, but's in all the other ones after that one, heat moves. That shit is... I remember the first time seeing those, I was like, this is pretty cool. The first time you like grab a coffee mug and like slam someone, or use a bike to just beat the shit out of someone.
Or kick someone into a wall.
Those are fun and novel and eventually repetitive. But when they build on more and more for each game, I was trying to describe to a coworker about what the game was like. And I just showed him just some random gameplay footage, and the heat moves come up. I was like, no shit. And yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things though where a lot of those classic beat 'em up games of this time and even before or after, I find the combat to not be the draw. And anytime that I'm going to be hitting XXX, XXX triangle, XXX, XX triangle,
It is almost a hack and slash.
And there's not a lot of depth there. I've heard, like, I didn't finish a lot of these games because didn't have a ton of time to research, but I've heard that the combo system can be very rewarding if you learn things, if you take the time to get all of the moveset, because it does evolve, but I also don't want the game to wait so long to get interesting. And I also don't want to be punished early on in that Shimano fight. I seriously was ready to not play any more Yakuza at all after that. It was like, we're doing a very Final Fantasy VII Remake Christmas. And then Dylan would have quit, and it was all because of Shimano. So thanks a lot.
I could not talk about fucking Cloud Strife anymore. I cannot do it. But I mean, it's also... There's also just aged game design. They could have changed something about that fight, made it a little bit easier.
Lock on the person you want to fight. That's all they needed to do.
But no, it's not even about whittling it away. It's about respecting time, and it's about respecting your energy. You could have made that game or that fight just as hard by even like lowering his health gauge. Because I think that was a fight you were meant to win anyway. Video games want you to win at the end of the day, for the most part.
Other than the very first time you meet up with Goro, where I learned I was trying so hard to beat this guy, and then I finally realized, you know what?
You're not supposed to.
I'm not supposed to win. And as soon as I realized that, I enjoyed that encounter so much more.
It doesn't happen often to me, but a couple times in my life I've gotten to a point in a video game where I said, oh, this is one of those where I have to lose fights. And then when I don't, like I wasn't supposed to lose, and I die, and I was like, okay, I didn't know something going into this. And you can argue maybe poor game design, but fuck that Shimano fight. And this is the last time I'm just going to say it, but the fact that they had something that obtuse and poorly explained killed all momentum. And momentum is an issue for these games a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like I was mentioning earlier, the story is serious and time sensitive, urgent, very dramatic and melodramatic with over the top plot twists, which you can get away with once or twice. By the end of the series, I'm numb. But something else happens in these games where all of a sudden you are running cabaret clubs, you are helping a naked man find clothing, you are bowling enough to be able to unlock a chicken to be a manager for your business. And it's great because all of the story for the game, the main story, is written by one team. And then all the sub-stories are like, all right, everyone else just go have fun and do what you want. And the tone is crazy. And it's, I think, where a lot of Kiryu's character really shines, because you can kind of become the character, he would go do pocket circuit racing. He doesn't go gambling, or he does go gambling, or it's just the tonality of the story and the pacing gets fucked.
That's a really interesting point you just brought up, where clearly it's separate teams doing different side quests or like zany stuff, and I find that can be an issue with some games. This is a sidebar. You can edit it out if you want, but Persona 5,
No. Persona 5 is a game that I actually wanted to discuss and compare with Yakuza.
Great. So my comparison will be the lack of cohesiveness. I didn't so much find it in Yakuza as I did in Persona 5, but to your point where, clearly there's different teams going on with different side quests and what have you. Persona 5, all of a sudden your button combos change out of the blue for certain aspects of the game. And I've seen this in other games as well, where all of a sudden, you're pressing X for 25, 75% of the time in the game, and you go to a side quest, a little sidebar mission, and all of a sudden, that's not the button you need to press for that exact same move. There's a lack of communication between game design teams, right?
I mean, I suppose, but it's also, but a mini game is a mini game. It is its own separate thing. Like, it is not the main mechanic of the video game.
The reason I wanted to talk a little bit about Persona 5 is the unapologetically Japanese nature, like the culture of the game.
Yeah.
Which is something that I'm so happy that with Yakuza, Nagoshi said, fuck you, harder.
Yeah.
We are going to lean heavy into, this is how people relax. They go to karaoke bars. This is the food you would eat. This is how the nightlife works. We're not going to say that hostess clubs aren't there. They're there. And it's important to acknowledge these scenes, like the part of the nightlife, because it exists. And to think that other people in other parts of the world wouldn't get it is, it's understandable where the businessmen are coming, like why they, no, financially doesn't work. But they had a lot of issues bringing Yakuza to America because the first game had a very questionable dub, and I'm not sure if it's bad. It's not good, but I think there's a lack of faith in people wanting to see more culture, and it's so much the experience to me.
Well, you want to know what's so funny about even like the idea that people are like, well, people don't want to see brilliant, unfamiliar worlds, and I'm like, dude, like look at a Final Fantasy game.
People look at Avatar.
People are literally looking for that escapism, especially in America. Like they play fantasy games just to hear Glib Glob Slade the King,
Slade Glorbulon.
Exactly. And so like the fact that you don't respect your average person enough to be like, oh, I can see how there's a real life parallel to this, and or be like, I can understand this based on another thing. I just think, I think all executives are fucking criminal pieces of shit.
We focus tested the game, and 2 people said they don't like boobies, so there's no boobies allowed in the game.
But are they
were
really going
then
to be
killed.
able? But are they really going to be able to imagine the babies?
The babies, can you imagine them in your head? Can you see them jumping?
Listen, is there a Z?
This guy.
Okay.
You're in charge of the scenario.
Oh, shit.
Something that was also nice is that they do have a lot of the like adult content completely optional. If you don't want to go to hostess clubs, don't. If you don't want to go gambling, you don't have to. And I've seen some people try to make the argument that one of the only things I don't like about this game is if people have gambling issues in real life.
People are fucking babies.
Well, to me, I'm like, that's great. That then there will be an option for them not to gamble. Like they can practice not choosing not to do it by having it available and not doing it. It's a fucking video game.
I also don't think it extends to that. I've always been the type of person that I don't think that when I go out into the world, I expect the world to cater to me. And it's also just like,
I'm here. Everyone do what Dylan wants.
Exactly. But it's just like, It's like if you expect art to cater to you on every single level, then we're just going to have this homogenized piece of shit that everyone is going to think is fine. And
MCU.
yes.
Ooh,
high five.
I said it.
You did it. It is literally like if it's for everyone, then it's actually for no one. I don't understand this. Like that level of criticism is so fucking silly because you're not understanding the concept of what criticism actually is. Saying I don't like it personally is not the same thing as saying this doesn't work. This is how this needs to change. This doesn't work within the context of this. It's not good art critique. None of these people have fucking critiqued a piece of art in their fucking lives.
Dylan, put the table down.
Dylan.
I don't like it when Kazama has to play pachinko because my dad had a gambling problem.
This was made in Japan, you dumb broad.
Dylan, put the erection away.
It's too hard. It's not going away. But I don't understand this. I don't understand. And I am not Mr. fucking right wing, but this victim mentality mindset, fucking get the fuck out of here. No, if you don't like it, don't do it. The game is not holding a gun to your head.
So they actually had to get this approved by Sony. When this game was like all wrapped up with a bow, they had to go to Sony and because they wanted this in the PS2, and this was kind of a harder sell because they do have a lot of adult content. And they were talking with one person from Sony. They were going
dudes, right?
Well, they were dealing with men first, and they were having issues. They like went back and forth, and the guy that they were dealing with quit. He's like, "I'm not dealing with these Sega fucks. Someone else deal with them." And then they brought a woman on board, and Nagoshi was very worried, and she just came in there and she said, "Why does he need to go to a massage parlor?" And Nagoshi's like, he needs to because it needs to describe like this aspect of the game.
A lot. His muscles need to be untensed.
And at one, they were discussing this, and Nagoshi was sure she was going to say no, and she said, "Why does this need to happen in the context of the story?" He said, "This matters to me. The story's important, and I stake my career on how important everything in this game is." And she was the one who said, "I get it. I see what you're doing. I respect what you're up to."
In 2005, you could have gotten away with fucking saying or doing anything.
But they had issues. Another thing that they wanted was real advertisements and products. And for a series that was not known, people you have a game granted, it wasn't called Yakuza in Japan, but it's about the Yakuza. You play as a criminal.
Do you guys remember that Sonic the Hedgehog level Pepsi Zone?
Yes,
No.
I do. I haven't thought about that in years.
But you can't even drown in the liquid.
Yeah.
It'll go.
You just get fatter.
and
then it turns into a rave.
And then he'll, instead of dying, he'll go yum. And then you're invincible.
I have diabetes.
But you move very slow. You move very slow.
Sugar-free, man.
They did have an issue though.
I'll never get diabetes.
Convincing anybody. They had issues, though, convincing anybody, why would we want to have our coffee or our whiskey in this game? Eventually, they did get one company on, and then they got a handful in. And then there was no issues at all after the game became a phenomenon.
Yeah. Especially in Japan. People love this game in Japan.
Kiryu is 27 years old before he goes to jail.
Yes.
10 years later, the bulk of this game, he is 37 in the year 2005. So, this is one thing that bothered me. It was like, "Look out, old man." And my thought is, he looks like he's 24, 25.
Yeah,
he's gorgeous. Yeah. You mean this gorgeous hunk of a man who literally doesn't age up through 2017, the last time I've seen him when I was playing a game?
He's 50 by the end of the series.
Fighting an army of people. Mm-hmm. Some other characters. We mentioned Kiryu. Nishikiyama is the best friend who is
a real jerk.
Who turns bad.
Well, I mean,
because of his
his
inferiority complex.
Oh, I thought you said his evil cum. He needs to get it out.
His inferiority complex.
It's me every day.
He is your brother in a sense that you were raised in the same orphanage. He is ineffectual, but he's also like your best friend. Mm-hmm. And I did hear an interesting critique on the character because when you come back out, you find out he has kind of taken the role that would have been by all rights going to Kiryu, and he's kind of a dick about it because no one's listening to me, so I'm going to throw a temper tantrum. But Nishikiyama was protecting the sister character of yours, like Yumi, and he kills a man who is the patriarch of the family, and Kazuma takes the fall for him. And I've heard some people make the argument that I think it's got to be incredibly frustrating that not only is Kiryu better at everything, it wasn't even your decision that Kiryu takes the fall. He comes in and takes the fall for you, leaving you there feeling like a jackass while Kazuma's locked up, giving you even more of a problem.
I guess so, yeah.
And it also, at one point in this game, I think 10 different people jump in front of bullets, and over the course of like 2 hours, this becomes a trope too, where there will be 10 characters that have been good guys or villains that have switched back and forth, quadruple agents, and everyone is jumping in front of bullets and knives.
Oh, yeah.
But everyone survives, or some survive.
Or some die.
Some die.
For
but you
2
don't
games.
know. And then they come back from the dead.
And then it's their twin brother.
That's the Fast and the Furious movies.
No, this
right.
is the days of our lives. This is the bold and the beautiful. This is
literally
Japanese
is. Yeah, I
soap
know.
opera. That's all it is.
It's soap opera video game, and that's and you want to know what? Maybe
There's not
this
a-
is why. Maybe this is why we couldn't stick with it. Maybe this is the reason, because I don't like obvious storytelling unless it like functions on a higher level. This just, I love it. Every time I watch it, or there are times when I'm playing the game and I'm like, this guy's driving a motorcycle down the sewer to fucking kill me? Like, that's crazy.
I love it.
I love it.
still
But then
gonna play it.
afterwards, I'm like, oh, now I have to manage apartment complexes.
The first one, the first game, in my opinion, doesn't jump the shark. It has a lot of big moments where you're like, okay, they were the mom and the brother or the sister, and there's a point where Nishikiyama at the end becomes a good guy and kind of saves you, and a bunch of money blows out the window. I'm like, this is a good Die Hard film mixed with Chinatown or something.
And put it this way, this was his the developer's name, whatever his
Nagoshi.
name is. Nagoshi. This was his opus. You know, I'm going to make a kick-ass game. He probably had no idea that they were actually going to greenlight a sequel, right?
Well, and
So throw everything that you have on the table.
and the fact that and it became very quickly a series, and the second one, at one point of the game, you think you're going to the headquarters of the enemy. The entire like 3-story building splits in half, slides open, and a golden tower, 3 stories, emerges out of the ground. And it's like, you're in another territory now. You went from this is just kind of really pulpy melodrama to we are in another universe.
Well, and they actually took it to its logical conclusion with Like a Dragon, because that game is very much centered around it's focused on symbolism. It's focused on the unreality pairing with reality.
But we'll talk about Ichiban's mental issues when we get to that game, because there is at least sort of a logic to why he sees things differently.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas
He's autistic.
Kazuma's just different.
I actually, that's why I like him as a character. He's definitely fucking autistic.
This is actually a great segue for my next point. Americans are dumb.
What?
I know, right?
No way.
They said
I heard we're the smartest.
they said this beautiful game of Japanese culture that we lovingly created, Americans aren't going to get it. Let's have a dub done. Let's have some other voice actors brought in, and
It's me, Kazama Kiryu-chan.
Akira-chan, what are you doing here?
they went in heavy.
I'm gonna fuck you later, but first I'm gonna beat up these guys.
Okay, I'm just going to wait
That's
over
my
here
best
and bend
David
down.
Hayter. It wasn't too bad.
They went all out for this. They wanted to have a lot of like cult actors. They have Michael Madsen,
Really?
Mark Hamill is Majima, Eliza Dushku, Rachel Lee Cook. Not as big of names, but names you know.
It's a 90s or 2000s
Eliza Dushku and
who's
Rachel Lee
who
Cook are
who's
really
who
good,
of
though.
She was great as Tifa in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. She's all that, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh
Eliza
shit! No, you
Dushku?
didn't.
Rachel Lee Cook.
She
Rachel
was she was dilly dally shilly shally.
She's dilly dally shilly. No, that's Mina Savari.
Oh
Because Mina Savari is Aerith.
no, Tifa says dilly dally shilly shally.
Well, Aerith also says it when he's having his memory upper. They
I
both
know.
dilly. They both dilly
They
dally.
both-
Where does Troy
Shilly-shally.
or who does Troy Baker play?
Troy Baker plays
guitar.
Haruka. He plays Haruka.
the guitar.
He is the guitar.
Watch me play it.
Another very
No.
gross thing that happens though, because the American voice actors are good. The script is fucking bad.
Yeah.
Well,
They tried to Americanize it.
Well, they literally anytime a character is perturbed in any way, they say 10 F-bombs. All the time. Every character just swears
I
constantly.
like that though. That's funny.
It's
Swear words are cool.
Tarantino was very big at the time.
And then a bad motherfucker wallet out of nowhere. Like come
Haruka
on,
drops a bad motherfucker wallet.
Yeah.
And they did do some name changes to help with our tiny brains.
like Tim and Steve instead of Kuroko-san.
Yes,
and
Kazama Timmy.
live la to me.
They also prematurely released the trailer with scratch takes of the voice acting, and it sounded.
Oh,
it was kind of
no.
like that Mummy trailer that got leaked early,
Yeah, that's great.
and everybody.
Brendan Fraser.
One of the not that one. That one's classic. But one of the reasons that the game kind of didn't do well in America is because a lot of people were criticizing the voice acting only from the trailer when it wasn't supposed to be released at all.
What did they have to compare it to though? They had the first God of War. They had
Imagine Party Babies.
that definitely wasn't out yet. 'Cause
That wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
No, that was still in the incubator inside of some brains.
Nice plug. Incubator. Imagine Party Babies.
So the
I do imagine the party.
one thing that is beautiful about this game is the mini games. The original PS2 didn't have as many, but there was still a lot. And then Kiwami has a bunch as well. Like you can go to the batting cages.
It also made me realize that Space Harrier is a very bad video game.
Yes.
I think it's so great that they include a lot of Sega arcade games, and I
They
don't
do.
want to play most of them.
Outrun is good.
Yeah.
Outrun is still a good video game. I have a job where I deliver products to people. I'm never gonna say where I work. If you know me, you would know. But
Who does Sam Porter Bridges work for?
Bridges?
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Sam Porter Bridges.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying you work for them.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I work for Bridges, and I went to a Euro place out in the middle of nowhere, you know, and they call him the Euroist. Yeah, I love Outrun.
Outrun.
And they have an
Just a little
Outrun. They have a classic Outrun there, and I literally, the guy who's training me for this route, I just said, I just have to play one round of Outrun. I put 2 quarters in and I fucking played. He's like, wow, you're pretty good at it. It's taking a while. I said, okay, let's go.
You're pretty good. It's been a minute.
And Dylan's like,
Outrun.
Stand-up one.
Whenever I go up to an arcade game,
Manual transmission.
whenever I go up to
gotta
an
do that.
arcade game, I go Simpsons Arcade. I always say the title of the arcade game,
And then they say, sir, please get out of the Chuck E. Cheese.
sir, you're scaring the children.
I want 2 rat pizza.
Mommy, why is that man so weird?
I'm a simple man. When I see a claw game anywhere in the wild, I'll play it. Much like you saw the Outrun machine. It's like, I gotta play it.
yeah.
And the first time I saw you, like, I was exploring Yakuza Kiwami. First time I just Sega, go right in the door. Saw a claw game, immediately went up to it and played it. I think it's charming. It's fun that they do have distractions, little things you can do in the world that really give you a sense of time and place.
It's the cool thing about it is that it's absorbing you through the mundane aspects of normal life because you see these shops in these places. The world is so dense, whereas I feel like at the time you only had San Andreas to compare it to, which American games are focused on distance and length, whereas they're focused on like condensation, Condensation?
What the fuck are you talking about, bro?
I'm a simple man, dude.
No, they're in Japan. They're more focused on creating a more crafted world. The world around you is more condensed. That's what I meant to say.
No, I know what you're saying. I think it's a sign of the times and the way the Japanese made their games, right? Whereas
This also might have been a game ahead of its time.
yeah.
Well, and okay, you want to say ahead of its time. Open world to Americans mean I can shoot anyone and I can drive to the mountain.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone at the time when this came out said it's like an open world Grand Theft Auto game set in Tokyo. And that's not a good example.
That's not a good way to put it.
Well, and
hate
it's
that-
it's
I
bad
hate that
for
comparison.
bad for many reasons, but one of the biggest problems is in America you can just shoot everybody. You can drive over people.
Right.
There's Kazama Kiryu, and this game is a code where it's like you can't attack civilians. There is violence, but for certain reasons, and also open world doesn't mean everywhere. It means we have 8 city blocks, and you can go into buildings, and there's a lot of mini games. There's a lot of activities, but it's not about being able to shoot or run or steal cars. It's about you can, if you want to just play this game, you can go out to the bar and just have a conversation. You can go take out a lady from a hostess club and go sing karaoke. It's very much you have the city to do with what you want, and it's not about violence. It's about a sense of atmosphere and ownership of what you want to do, which I think is much different than what a lot of the American style of open world games at the time were.
It's creating a very succinct world, to your point. You know, here's your 8 city blocks. Do what you want to do. Comparing that to Rockstar, it's go kill hookers all you want. It's more ADD game design of when you get bored.
I also think they're more subtle than that. I think like the
No, I'm
characters
talking about
thing-
American games. It's
Well,
more ADD
yeah,
design, right?
it is.
And I don't want to say that those are all those games are good for, because that's definitely not the point. But just the concept of the open world game and what the focus of your, like, what you do in the game is very different. Grand Theft Auto was sold by both the media and Rockstar's like, do whatever you want, like crime, do what you steal a car, and this is like protect a child and sing karaoke.
It's definitely more of a. There's definitely more heart to what they were trying to bring with this game.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of heart in Grand Theft Auto games.
It's because
It's more of like trying to be like a Scarface,
it's because Yakuza has more of a story behind it. Like, let's face it, the majority of the GTA games, the story is
I gotta rise to the top.
the story is an afterthought. It's more about look how big the world is.
Even Grand Theft Auto 5, which arguably would have the best narrative,
Yeah.
isn't about character drama. It's just how to get to the top.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
back to the mini games, bowling, darts, like pool. The first time I played billiards, that's when I clicked. Oh yeah, this is Monkey Ball. This is just the same game, and the mini games are a huge aspect to what you can do in Yakuza, and the longevity of the games too. There is a reason after you beat the main story, you can go into Premium Adventure, which, all right, you beat the game, all the story is now out, and you can just go do all of the side content you want. No holds barred, have fun. And not enough games offer that, where, oh, you missed something in chapter 3, it's open now, just do it. Instead, go back to start the game over, go to chapter 3 if you want to get all your sub stories or whatever done.
Halo Infinite.
Don't know much. All right, we have time for
I've been playing it all day. It's fine.
one more little we have time for one more little segment. It's called Dylan Describes Japanese Terms and Names.
Okay, go for it. What do I have to do?
Anaki,
Brother,
bento,
lunch.
chan,
A suffix at the end of a name that implies some level of familiarity, usually associated with women.
kanji,
It's the simplified form of their writing.
kun,
Kun is usually male associated, and it implies a sense of familiarity.
pachinko,
It's a game with balls and pegs.
san,
San is a term of general respect.
senpai,
It is basically your superior based usually on age or rank.
So planned.
So planned is a
Clearing the throat over here.
No, it's essentially a place where you can get lubed up, and they will give you massages, but also you can have happy endings.
Mawashi Gary.
Not familiar.
Roundhouse kick.
Oh, okay.
And one last point of discussion before we
I can't believe I got all the.
No, the point wasn't to like quiz you. I wanted to know, like, it's good to know. I knew roughly because I'd read ahead, but it's good for the people listening.
Oh, sure.
They, even with the American translation, they kept Majima-san. Like, they had Mark Hamill say san, and it's great that they kept flavor text, which a lot of that doesn't translate one-to-one, and I think it's good to keep some of those words because it helps immerse you.
If you completely Americanized it, it would be a much different game, and it probably wouldn't be as popular as it is now in North America.
Well, you do have to add those because it implies character relationship.
That's right.
Because adding that last part to the end of anything that you say adds a ton more to the context.
And even if you don't know it, as a 12-year-old kid playing this game, if you don't know it, it's just more of, oh, this is so cool. This is how they talk in Japan, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's at least it's a bit of exposure to a different culture.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things that happens in way too many of these games, you go to the top of the Millennium Tower, you fight 5 people for reasons you will find out just then instead of over the previous 50 hours. And inexplicably, money will fly everywhere at some point. This game was a success. This game did make money. It was more successful than they had anticipated. Greenlit a sequel immediately, and such started the dominoes falling of, we have the framework, we have the gameplay, we have the city. All you really have to do is freshen up what you think needs the most polishing and add a story.
Following the same guidelines as the first story.
They use different tropes, but it's not always a love triangle. It's not always a lost child, but it is going to be extremely tropey, pulpy, and Kiryu will be Kiryu, but there will be a new bad guy that will become a good guy. There will be many betrayals, and someone will jump in front of a bullet. But I think it's all the stories are batshit crazy in different ways. They do different things plot-wise, but when there's a baby in a locker, you best believe something's going to happen.
For sure.
Yeah.
That was a fucked up moment.
And even that one, everything about what was happening in that game, I'm like, my eyes squinted immediately. I was like, Dinkelberg, what's Majima-san? What's going on here? I don't know. You get very numb with the Yakuza stories to an extent because, all right, this guy allegedly killed 18 people. I don't think it happened, and they will explain it.
But that's my point, right? Like it's to your point, Brad. You know, you can add some flavor, like the kid, the lover, what have you, the love triangle, but essentially it all boils down to the 3 bad guys, the hidden bad guy, what have you. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have that template because obviously, hey, they made 6 games plus 3 offshoots now.
It is the storytelling level on some degree of wrestling.
I think that is an accurate thing.
It's very poetic.
I just don't like the term a template. I think it is.
That's fair.
I think the theme and the tone and like the concept of family, of betrayal, of honor, and as Kazuma is so insistent on like staying true to yourself.
So in other words,
if you're gonna be a transgendered hitman, be the best.
But it's not wrestling then. It's Fast and Furious.
It's Fast and Furious. It's professional wrestling. It's Game of Thrones. It's River City Ransom. It's Monkey Ball. It's a little bit of everything. And
I love it when II shows up in the Battle of Millennium Tower.
Well, II is in Yakuza Kiwami in UFO Catcher.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is catch Baby right away.
Baby's your favorite.
And you can sell him for money, or you can just look at him in your inventory and be happy. And You best believe I was very happy. But we're going to be coming here to the end of this first episode, which we pretty much exclusively talked about the first one. In the next episode, we're going to roundhouse power kick through 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Kenshin, the other one, 2 PSP games.
The other one.
There was another exclusive, Dead Souls. Well, and we're going to do it fast. We're just going to kind of go over a lot of the releases. There's not going to be, we don't have to discuss at length anything.
I think we got it covered.
No, we talked about the first game. We have to talk about what the series trajectory is.
I guess so.
Yes, but if you're listening to this, this is out before Christmas. And if that means something to you, Merry Christmas. If it doesn't, keep being who you are. Stay true to yourself. Go do some karaoke. The Raw Dogs love you.
Happy what the fuck ever.
Happy holidays, whatever your holiday is.
Yeah.
As long as it gets you through these dark nights.
But thanks so much for listening. If you want to have more Raw Dogs content, you can like and subscribe to Hair the Dogcast here. Write us a review if you want. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Hair the Dogcast. We are on Twitter at Hot Dogcast. And by all means, reach out if you have any thoughts on the Yakuza series. We'd love to hear them. And we will be back in 2 weeks to discuss the rest of the Yakuza series. So look forward to that. And we'll see you next time.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Yakuza is a video game.